And welcome to Pulp Mythos. I'm Brian here with Larry and Spencer, and we're going to be discussing Why Women Kill Season 2, Episode number 5, They Made Me a Killer. If you've not hit the sub button or the bell, please do so. We will be doing these reviews every single week. Hit the upvote, leave a comment. We appreciate those. And let's start with Bertram. We get his origins, we get his backstory, and it is dark and it is disturbing. A little upsetting, even the way it was done. The opening, we were introduced to the character of Harriet, who turns out to be Bertram's mother. We find out that she was the first one that he put down when he was 6 years old. She was dying. She asked him to do it. He did it. And this episode is basically us finding out why he does what he does. We get sort of a breakdown of his emotions, how it's tied to that trauma, and we also learn a few things. For instance, he's had 26 people he's killed in his lifetime, and that it all centered around Father, I wrote his name, Timothy Keegan, who he goes to visit to confide in. A lot going on with Bertram. I'm glad that he sort of had those moments. We talked in the past about how I was hoping we would get his backstory and he would explain that first person because he brought it up, but we got it. And yeah, what did you guys think about that opening and sort of his journey throughout the episode?
We bitch about a lot of shows about how they don't spend the couple minutes worth of time to explain things, or in other shows we've talked about how spending 2 minutes worth of time to kind of give us an explanation would better the show. And this to me was almost a perfect example of that. They spent just a couple minutes giving us a short backstory, and it explained Bertram completely in a very short period of time.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's a good example of of something we were saying other shows don't do, where it's very much a show don't tell, kind of thing, where it's like, okay, yeah, we get what he's built. We like I was wondering when they were going to explain, what kind of like what caused this in Bertram, and where did this start. We had to get that because it was such a big thing, a big part of his character, not to be elaborated on. And I thought it might have taken place, and this is one of the few shows that'll be fine because he does have to explain this to his wife at some point, I assumed. But instead of that, we got like scenes of backstory, and you get the framing of it by seeing it, and you get how how that could mess up a kid, and that how that could kind of um, give him the idea that he's doing a good thing, whether he's a full on, like um, Dexter style serial killer and he has that kind of problem, or whether it's just him suppressing and rationalizing a thing and thinking that he did a very good, like, and trying to, like trying to rationalize what he did to his mother, to say that it's a good thing. I'm helping people. I didn't do anything bad when I was a kid. Like it's his way of potentially rationalizing that.
And using the priest's conversation with him, that the priest, and he made it a point. Look, you were 6. I thought you would get over this, and I told you it was okay because, well, you were 6. and he, the priest, he'd stop drinking, but he starts drinking in the episode. Basically, now
Right.
he's dealing with the fact that, my God, I somewhat created a serial killer because of my poor choice of words and how I handled that situation. So there's a lot of layers to this, and of course, even the idea that he tells Bertram, "Look, don't you think that the pain you're trying to stop is not necessarily theirs; it's yours?" And he works through this, and of course the setup in the end is he says your wife's a good wife, you should do what she says, and of course we'll get into where we think that's going to go based on the ending. But my God, like you said, Spencer, a couple minutes, you show us the beginning, you have a couple scenes where he's talking with Timothy Keegan, and I completely now understand this character and slightly sympathize with as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bertram, it's one of those things where now he's, I'm just going by how old their child is and stuff. It's late 30s, early 40s is the character age that he's playing. So he has, since he was 6, so he's been doing this for 30 plus years, and he's stuck with this mindset. And Yes, he's an adult now. Yes, he probably should have learned by now, but that's that nature versus nurture thing. Like, there's so many inner monologues that I'm having while I'm watching this because it's it's great, it's funny, it's dark, it's twisted, but then stuff like this happens and it causes you to think. It causes you to kind of question some of those things that we all question from the first psychology class we've ever taken, whether it was in high school, college, whatever. Read an article about whatever it is, and it gives you that nature versus nurture kind of thought process. And Bertram's character is perfect for that because now he's old enough to where he can think for himself, but clearly he can't because he did all these things based on something his mom did. If it goes like you said, if it goes the direction we think it's going to go, the priest has given him some advice to, hey, listen to your wife. We know what she wants now. So is he going to be like, you know what? Let's just do what she says. And it's one of those things where I start thinking of it from like a psychology standpoint, how fucked up Bertram is as a character.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those things where we see it's perhaps even gone from, like I mentioned previously, rationalizing it. And like you said, us having some sympathy for him. He's not just rationalizing it anymore. It's turned into a compulsion at this point. It's no longer something that he does for the previous reasons he did it before. It's something he wants to do, like that he's compelled to do. And there's even a ritual about it where he'll take a memento and everything. And it's whereas like I don't know. I guess if like and it brings up the question, like you said, from because you think about it from a psychological perspective, that if his priest didn't rationalize it to him the way that he did, would Bertram still be the way he is right now?
Yeah, that's the interesting question. Exactly. I think, that's why the priest is sort of having those moments of panic, like, what did I do? And I think it all was played very well. Yeah, it was just very well written as far as now understanding that character. Another character that has a very interesting, and maybe we'll get more of her backstory, Rita. We've gotten a little bit of it. She's talked about it, but the just how vindictive she is, and this whole episode, you could have called the episode Rita's Revenge if you really wanted to, because it was just her doing horrible things throughout the course of the entire episode, starting with getting Dee fired at the diner, calling a complaint on her, writing a telegraph to Alma, telling her she was accepted into the garden club when in fact she wasn't, just to embarrass her. And then when Alma, finds out the truth, her and Dee have a conversation, and she figures it out, and she thinks she has the upper hand on Rita, and she goes to see her. And that scene was tough because at first you're like, okay, Alma, very, very clever. She's telling her, look, I know your secret. I want in the club. And Rita just tears her apart. The way she played that was beautiful. You could see it in her face, Alma just slowly melting away, that confidence. And then finally destroying her garden, the thing she loves most. But there will be consequences. I'll go ahead and drop the line, and then we can go into the discussion about Rita. But the ending of her sitting there seeing her garden destroyed and thinking to herself, how am I going to get back at Rita? And then, oh yeah, I'm married to a serial killer. And it's like, oh
Well,
no.
I had a couple as soon as the garden scene ended, just because when you go back to the beginning part of what happens when she's talking to her, and you see that she didn't just embarrass her to embarrass her, she did it to discredit her too. She said that the reason she sent her that telegraph is because now if she says anything, if she does anything, it looks like she's just trying to get payback for being embarrassed. So now she just discredited Alma to where no matter what she does, it looks like she's trying to get back at her. But my thing is there's still a dead body in her garden. So if her garden's destroyed and everything else, is she going to set up Rita for that murder? Because that's where my mind immediately went. Is that someone destroyed her garden? She's got all this evidence now. She also has the evidence of, what she did to her daughter. There's all kinds of things, and she has a PI in the family because so I think that what she's going to do is try to frame Rita for killing Mrs. Yost.
And that would be the smarter thing to do.
That mind went.
Yeah, and that would be the smart thing to do. You're absolutely right. That's a good idea. I didn't even consider that. Like my mind went the more direct route that she's going to try to get her husband to murder her, but that's kind of not his MO. Because Rita's healthy and everything, and it doesn't fit into what he's doing. And so to me, it's kind of a coin toss whether he'll do it because like you were alluding to earlier, Brian. His priest said, "Listen to your wife," but on the other hand, the way that he ritualistically murders, he doesn't murder healthy people that are doing okay. So he typically would murder. If anything, he could wind up complicating Rita's situation by killing her husband because her husband's in
Carlo.
Yeah, and then it's like who inherits Carlo's estate and his money and everything, and. So the situation could be made messier by her doing this. But if she goes about it the way that Spencer's saying, that would be very smart. But the question is that something that Alma would consider? Because Alma's clever, but I don't know if Alma's as clever as she thinks she is sometimes.
Well, and to me, you talk about the apprehension that Bertram might have with killing somebody who's healthy. He had apprehension. He's killed, like, what was it, 26 people, I think you said, Brian?
Yeah, 26.
He's killed 26 people, yet he didn't want to steal his neighbor's stuff. So it's one of those things where, is he going to have apprehension with killing Rita? Because he's shown it before. Now, he was still willing to help Alma, but that might be, like you said, Larry, it might be something that he's not willing to cross that line. Even though it seems he's going to listen to the priest. The priest has basically made him feel okay with killing people. So he may feel okay with helping because it's helping his wife or listening to his wife. So it could go that route. Just the frame job on Rita, to me, would be the smartest route because now she could almost do it. So I don't know. And back in 1949, there wasn't really a lot of forensic where, well, they've been dead for 3 days instead of 2 days. Like, I don't know that they would be able to.
What's really cool about this also is this was episode number 5 of a 10 episode run. So this was literally the ending of the first half of the series. So the entire second half is going to be Alma going after Rita in some capacity. And I thought this was a great, with all the build up, great, really well done pacing as far as storytelling. But yeah, killing Carlo, that's a possibility. You're right. I don't see him going directly after Rita in that way, but I don't know. We still have the I didn't write her name down, or did I? The one woman who's sick, who's part of the garden club, the one of the women's, is it Martha?
I think it's Martha, and
Martha.
But yeah, like there's still that character. Although killing her, I don't know how that would factor into anything. We also found out, and maybe this is a throwaway, or maybe this is important. Grace is the character that was trying to get Alma in the club. And Grace seems to always see through Rita's bullshit. When Alma comes to the little party, she's sort of staring at her, and she can tell that Rita screwed her over, but Grace doesn't say anything. And we find out that the reason for this is Grace is also having an affair. Rita knows about it and is keeping it a secret. And she makes it a point to say, yeah, I'm holding it over her, because Alma's like, well, who is it? And she won't say. To me, that's going to be important in some capacity later. Who is Grace having an affair with, and how will that play into the bigger story as well?
Or, was that potentially Rita bluffing is the thing? Because, like she'd already destroyed her and had her cornered, and, it's the sort of thing where, I don't know, like, because it's the sort of thing like we see that at a certain point, she backs off and just kind of lets Rita have her way. is that social pressure or is that knowledge of this potential affair? You know, if there is one, it's like, and honestly, we haven't seen anyone on the show yet that it would make sense for her to have an affair with. So I don't know, hard to say, unless it's your boy Scooter, you know, or
That would be perfect. Just Scooter had all these women like hemmed up and in trouble, and he's just trying to figure out which one's going to provide for him and give him the most money.
it would only make sense for it to be Scooter or potentially Alma's old boyfriend if he's coming back into the picture at
That
some
would be
point.
great.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah, it was just one of those lines where I'm like, okay, they're setting something up. I don't know what, but this is not. I don't think this is a throwaway line. And maybe Alma's gonna try and investigate it and see if she can get Grace on her side.
Well, I think too, when you look at, saying whether or not it's true, everybody who is in that garden club, although Grace seemed to be the most redeemable one, they all seem to be married into money. Like their marriages themselves aren't really of love. They're more of, gold digging, because all of them were talking about how they don't do any yard work. They have people to do that for them. Like, it's not just they're pampered, it's that they're very entitled and they're very privileged people. And it seems as though a lot of them aren't just in Rita's shoes. They're all Rita's. Rita's just the most conniving and evil of the group. So I think that it's a great possibility, but for her to mention it, like you said, Brian and Larry, what's the point unless it is somebody like her ex-boyfriend or something like that? So where they tie them back into the story, and to me, that would make the most sense.
It's the detective. Yeah, I don't know. Scooter. Speaking of Scooter, my man's been making moves. He's making his moves on Catherine. That's going pretty well. But the big problem forming is Carlo is getting stronger. And he knows the truth about Scooter. And we have the whole thing with the Scrabble board, which I loved. Him spelling out the truth and then Rita, smacking it down. But he's getting stronger. He's almost able to say a word. He's able to move his hand a little bit. And he knows the truth. So are we going to get a point where Rita's trying to kill him? Like that. What's she going to do? That storyline's picking up.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
I think Rita's going to hit a point where she feels like Scooter is almost a liability at that point, because she does see Scooter seems to be out for, well, it doesn't seem to be. He's definitely out for himself. When he started this, it was him trying to get back with Rita so that she can pay for everything. It wasn't a matter of fact that he loved her or anything. He got really used to those creature comforts and was like, hey, this would be a lot easier if I had all my stuff back. So he's trying to get her to get back into her good graces. He's not doing this for the benefit of Rita. He's doing it for the benefit of Scooter. So, like we've mentioned before, if he starts realizing that maybe Catherine has a better shot of getting the money, he may jump ship and go after Rita. So I think that she's going to see that potential, and she's going to have to put an end to it somehow, because he's going to become a liability sooner rather than later, I think.
Yeah, I thought that would be a funny ending for this. Scooter on the way to Texas because he's headed back with Catherine and things have fallen apart for Rita.
Yeah. We get talk about progression, in a short amount of time. And we keep bringing that up because if you want to listen to our Loki review, you're going to hear us complaining, at least me complaining. I don't know about the other two guys, but we haven't recorded it yet, but I got plenty to say about pacing on that review. But yeah, Loki review, check it out. But we have the progression with Dee and Vern. These are two characters that they've been slowly building up this relationship. And we finally have a moment where they have dinner. He cooks for her. She wants to take it to the bedroom, but he's still self-conscious about the wounds he suffered in the war. She tells him, it doesn't matter to me, and they, go in the back and do what they do. This has been a blossoming love for the course of this show, and then we get hit with one hell of a revelation. Dee is pregnant, and there's only one person I can assume is the father, and Scooter. My God, like, talk about a curveball. Like, I don't know where the hell the story goes. I doubt that Vern, I'm sure he'd be understanding, but yeah, whatever. But what the fuck is she going to use this against Scooter? I don't know. Where do you guys think the pregnancy factors in, or how will it factor in?
I don't know, but that was fantastic. It was just funny.
I didn't see that shit coming at all. I was sitting there like,
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, because to me, the best part about that is that we don't, like you said, we don't know how it's going to play in. We don't know if Scooter's going to find out, because he doesn't seem too bright. So I don't know if she's going to use it as leverage against him, or, to me, the bigger effect that we'll have will be on Scooter's character as opposed to hers, because I think that Scooter already feels like he's in a jam, he's in a tight spot, and he's trying to get back on Rita's good side and get back into having her, pay for all his stuff again. Now, what if he feels like he's going to have to pay for this baby or do any of that stuff? So now is he going to see Dee as a liability to him getting money? So I think that this storyline is going to be affected, but I think it's going to be affected on Scooter's end as opposed to Dee's storyline as much.
Yeah, it'll be a bit of a drama between Dee and Vern for a short while, but I think they'll come back together in some way. But yeah, as far as Scooter, like Spencer was saying, that's the wild card. How does Scooter react to it? Is he going to try to ignore it or do something about it, or is he going to try to be like a responsible father to any degree?
Wouldn't that be great if he's just like, he finds out and he's like, you know what? I'm gonna step up. Like, all his focus goes to Dee. I'm gonna, I'm just, who knows? I don't know, but that would be funny.
Right. Yeah, it's hard to tell, because like there's no telling, where this will go with Scooter, especially with this revelation. Like you said, I didn't see the pregnancy coming at all, but it's a very surprising twist, but it's a twist that makes sense, given the context, and given the past relationship with Scooter and everything. Like, and I was wondering where the whole bump on a head thing went. I was like, okay, like, how hard did she hit her head? Is this going to affect her personality or something? Is that where we're going with this? And they took it in a more realistic place, like, oh yeah, she also got this other news that she's pregnant.
Yeah, because she may do the whole thing where she doesn't tell Vern and then he finds out later. I don't know how that's going to go, but my assumption is at some point, I don't think he'll care. That maybe it'll be a little drama, but I just don't know what she's going to want to do, and money would be a concern. So maybe that's how the Scooter thing will factor in. Or what if Alma learns, and then what would that be sort of twisted if Alma tries to use it as a weapon? Where her own daughter and this unborn child, like, I don't know where it could go, but that maybe that's an avenue.
I don't put that past Alma at this point.
Not at this point.
He's almost become not necessarily the villain, because Rita's not a good person either, but Alma's, to me, almost becoming side by side, parallel ish with her motivations that Rita have. Obviously they're not on the same pay level or tax bracket, but they seem to have the same motivations, and they also seem to be very, very much
social status.
Yeah,
both their thing. Yeah,
that's their driving force, and they're both showing that they're willing to do anything to achieve it. And Alma obviously has a serial killer on her side and on her payroll, whereas Rita's a little bit more apt to do it herself because that's what she's done her whole life. So to me, it's very interesting to see that they're both in similar places, but they're both on a very similar mindset as far as what they're willing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree with that because, to me, the scene where Alma seems just very upset and resigned because she can't believe how cruel Rita was and that she did all these things to her. It's not that she can't believe it or that those are depths she wouldn't sink to. It's the fact that what she really can't believe is that she got outmaneuvered like that, and that she got outmaneuvered so intensely, and because I feel like shoe on the other foot, Alma would do the same thing.
Yeah, definitely. It was one of those like she thought she had it figured out. She's like, I got you, and then realized I don't. And but then the fact that it's now escalated, after the garden being destroyed, and now she's in the mindset of, well, like I said, we're not sure how she's going to use it, but her thinking is, I have a serial killer on my side, and and so now that it's escalated to that point, who's going to be the real villain by the end of this thing? You're going to have two very destructive forces going after each other. But yeah, great episode. I loved every second of this episode. I was on the edge of my seat, just loving it. I don't really have anything else. Anything else you guys want to talk about regarding episode 5 of Why Women Kill season 2?
No, I already threw out my couple wild theories, so I'm good.
Well, yeah, I just wanted to add to Spencer's theory, because it got me thinking that it's like, well, even if the body isn't technically involved, and it probably would be if this happens, there's a good chance that, if it's going that direction that Spencer theorized, that Alma may wind up planting the keepsakes that Bertram takes in Rita's house, and make it look very suspicious. These deaths look very suspicious.
Yeah, I could see something like that. The Miss Yost thing is gotta play in. The detectives are investigating. She's still missing. They have the dog. There's 5 episodes left, so absolutely. And those trinkets, you're right. She definitely has access to them. It's going to be interesting to see. And I love, like I said, I love the fact that the way the pacing worked out. Now we have another half of the show to see this side of the story. Now that Alma's sort of graduated to becoming a I don't know, a villain in her own right. So it should be fun.
It should be, and I just got another piece of that puzzle. Rita may not just be framed. The aunt of the lady in the garden club, she may tell Bertram to kill her. And he may kill her at Rita's house. Is the thing.
Yeah.
And then Alma may, just sort of subtly reveal the means of her death, and that could be the direction they're taking this.
I like that theory. Yeah, that'd be cool. Anyone listening, what are your theories? Where do you think the story is going? How is Alma going to use a serial killer to her advantage? What could her plan possibly be? We would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Also, with the power of social media, if you want us to write an episode of any of these shows that we talk about, we might do a better job. Just get on board, start some kind of something.
We definitely could write Loki better, but
I would say, we could probably write Loki.
Listen to our Loki review if you want to hear me whine for a half hour or so. So, anything else, guys?
Nope.
Yeah, that's everything.
All right. Yeah. Looking forward to next week's episode. Like I said, leave a like, leave a comment, and we will see y'all next time.
Bye.
Bye.